Choose your character.
All right. Welcome back to the Geekset podcast, the only podcast that blends hip-hop culture and geek culture together. I'm your boy Deuces, and this is 101 with Deuces, the place where I speak with creators, curators, and people that you should know. And right now, man, y'all know I've been talking about on my podcast that I've been trying to get this brother for quite some time. And then he replied to me on Twitter, and I was like, let's make it happen. And we finally got him, but we got the one and only Lamorne Morris. How are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good. Just sitting here at home, just relaxing and chilling, Yeah, man.
So first things first, I gotta ask, how did you break the toilet in your trailer, bro?
You know what's crazy? Is there's multiple layers to this story, because I the only reason why I tweeted that is I was trying to get ahead of it. Right? So what happened was, I think it was broken before I got there.
Yeah.
And I was like, and so because I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't do enough to break the toilet. You know what I mean? Right. I sat on the throne like I was supposed to, and I got up rather quickly. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I didn't drop any feminine products down there. I didn't drop anything heavy, And so I flush, and I go back a little bit later to just to go to the bathroom. I look over at the toilet, and I said, "Man, that water looks awfully high." I said, "Hold on." I said, "Wait a minute." So I go to flush it again, and it keeps rising. I was like, no. So I had to take the back off.
Like do the thing.
Yeah, but my hand, and then so to not have it overflow. You know what I mean? Because at this point, I'm wearing like a salmon colored suit, and I'm about to go and do the talk. And I'm like, this is going to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
This is going to be absolutely embarrassing. I'm going to have shit water on my salmon suit. I said, this is silly. So I was trying to figure out a way discreetly to fix it, but I didn't know how to do that. There was no this. Okay, first of all, CBS, y'all need to get plungers in y'all bathroom just to avoid this situation. They didn't have any, and I didn't know who to ask. Okay, because one, it would have been embarrassing because there were fans of mine that were working on the staff. I didn't want to ruin the fantasy. So I took what I did was, because I had to go old school. I went in their closet, and they had these wire hangers.
Right.
So I figured, I'm gonna take the wire hanger, I'm gonna just jam it in there and try to clear it like that. Man, that made things worse. That made things a lot worse, because now there's evidence that someone's been sitting in. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, this ain't going the way I planned. So I left, and in order to get ahead of it, I just tweeted about it. I just tweeted about it before somebody beat me to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
It's like walking into the precinct and saying, "Hey, I shot him," because what you don't want to do is them have to come and find you.
Right. Oh man, I can just imagine, because like I said, that's one of the most vulnerable, like panicking situations, is when a toilet malfunctions when you're in your vicinity. Because it's like
exactly.
Everybody's going to assume it's me, and
they're going to assume it's you.
Yeah.
They're going to assume it's you. It's like being on an elevator and there's two people and you smell something.
Yep.
We know who did it at that
right.
We know who did it. You know what I'm saying?
So on my platform, though, like, man, shout out to Noriega. I give them all props. They normalize celebrating people in the moment. And I want to say, man, in this Blerd space, man, you have given so much to the culture from, from the, like, just if you think about it, like from Jumanji to Woke to even the stuff that you did with Funny and Die, I think it was Ralph, if I'm not mistaken, being Ralph and dropping those bars. And it's just like, it's like, bro, like, this Blerd culture is showing that how Black people can be into these type of things, but also still be cool. Like I said, we love Steve Urkel, but not all of us is like that. So it's like, I love being able to see people in other aspects of doing it. But you're also just like naturally funny, and you're great at what you do. So I want to say, man, thank you from the culture to you and everything that you give out to that culture.
Man, thank you, man. You know, I owe that to just, you know, being brought up in different environments, you know. You know, from the South Side of Chicago. So that's where my love of hip hop has come from. You know what I mean? And so, you know, and in my circle on the South Side of Chicago, it was, you know, basketball players, you know, rappers, but also nerds as well. Like, you know, we were some of the smartest kids in the school, but some of us, not me, but some of us, you know, selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I was one. I was the top of my class. But you know, but we all ran in the same circles because we all lived in the same type of household. You know what I mean? And so then I moved to the West Burbs of Chicago, where it ain't too many Black folks there. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so I started developing a love for different types of music and different, you know, video games and comic books, certain things that I wasn't necessarily getting over here on the other side. And so then you just, again, and then those worlds collide. And then what we see now is, you know, at the age of social media, we are able to find each other quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like you think you're by yourself, you know, you're humming a song, an alternative music song in your head, and you're looking around like, don't nobody know what I'm talking about. Right. And you go on Instagram and you go, man, there's a lot of niggas who love this.
Right. But see, I that's the one thing that I love. So you touched on something that I constantly push because we're pretty much brothers because I live in Milwaukee and Milwaukee and Chicago is like right there and right there. But the one thing that I tell people, I'm like, look, there's a lot of people who grew up in the hood, who grew up in these areas, who necessarily wasn't the biggest gangbanger, who wasn't the biggest drug dealer, but we was there. We was in the thick of it. We know that life and we know everything about it, right? Exactly. And so I was like, you know, being able to tell that story and being able to be that because, you know, I watch a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, but like Stilo Brim talks about it. He's from Chicago as well. Yep, that's the homie. Yeah, I got to interview Barry Brewer. He talks about it, you know, growing up in church, but still being in that. I interviewed Kel Mitchell, same thing. And it's like, we all live in that where it's like, look, we didn't go down that path, but people around us definitely did. And there's that story. And I think that that's also like, you know, at being a hip hop head, I think why Kendrick Lamar and like J. Cole are so, you know, like you can tell that they grew up in these type of areas, but they wasn't. Kendrick Lamar talks about it all the time of not being a gangbanger, but being around and in that life. And that's what Good Kid, Mad City is all about. Oh, yeah. You know? So it's like, you know, that story and being able to be like, yeah, you know what, I was there, but like this, I think that that's so dope. And it adds so much to the person in general.
Oh, yeah, 100%, man. And I owe a lot of that to, you know, where you come from, but also the older folks around you. Because you know, it's interesting, you know, having older brothers and cousins and people who were involved in that type of life, they would always tell you, don't do that though. Yep. And you will see the examples of why you shouldn't. And they maybe didn't have that influence over, you know what I mean? For someone to tell them not to go down that path necessarily, you know what I mean? And kind of pave the way for us to be weird and to be creative and to be the things that we wanted to be. So I owe a lot of my success to those folks.
Yeah. And Quiet as Kept, a lot of them also are into this like geek shit, right? Because the funniest thing ever. So like, you know, I got cousins who now like was in that life who I looked up to as a kid because I thought like, oh, they the coolest, you know what I'm saying? They got the leather jacket, they got the Avirex, like, you know. And so now they're seeing me do this, and then like, you know, I'm like, it's them cousins come to me like, hey yo, so like what type of anime should I get into? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so like I create lists. Like now I'll create them lists like, all right, so if you want to see an anime where niggas catching them hands, you watch X, Y, and Z. You want to see like, you know, I start making lists like that can correlate to them. But it's like, it's dope to see those worlds combine and, you know, and they're celebrating and trying to tap into that and everything like that more.
You talking to the niggas in jail, and you got to tell them, hey, this is also anime porn too. Hey, I know you're looking.
Right. But like, so let's talk about Woke, because like that show is like one, I love, like, that is a Blerd life as a comic creator, you know, being because like I love the aspect, if you for those who haven't watched Woke, I love the aspect of your character being somebody who's like, no, I'm just making comics, but then you have such a traumatic experience that really legit just opens up your world and changes everything for you. Like, and so with that, like, if this was this your creation, or was this something that was you brought into?
No, I wish I could say it was mine, because it mirrored my life in such a perfect way. After New Girl, I wanted to do something that, you know, had a little bit of weight to it and some stakes to it. And I read this script. You know, I passed on some stuff. I read some stuff, and you know, I read this script, and immediately I was drawn to it, because as an actor, I just wanted to keep my head down and act and tell jokes and be funny and make money and support my family. That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I'm not a very politically driven person. I didn't know too much about politics. It all sounded like BS to me. So I was like, let me just tell these jokes and make a good living, you know, get put my family in a good spot. And so I read the script, and immediately I clicked. It hit me. Like, this dude is me. I said, I have to play this character. I have to play this character. You know, Keith Knight was very similar. He's an artist, and he wanted to just kind of, again, politically, he walked down the middle of the road. He's not an idiot. You know, he knows what's going on around him, but, you know, he just felt like drawing boring comics, you know, funny little cute little anecdotes. And then when you're faced with some of that adversity yourself, like, you know, something like a police brutality or whatever the case may be, you know, you're instantly hit with that realization that, oh shit, they treat me like everybody else. Like, oh damn, like that happened to me. You know what I mean? It happened to me in Chicago, where you're like, I'm leaving a comedy show from Second City. I'm wearing a suit. Right. The cops got me handcuffed on my own car because they don't believe it's my car. So when stuff like that happens, you're immediately transformed into this thinker. You know what I mean? Where you try to overanalyze stuff, and then your work those thoughts start to bleed into your work, where you feel like you should be saying more, doing more, educating yourself more. So we kind of walk down the exact same path. You know what I mean? And for folks who haven't seen the show, you know, when you dive into season 2, it's still mirroring my life in a very weird way, where you're like, I don't want to spoil anything for those who haven't seen it, you know, but you start to, it's like what happens when you get the limelight, you know what I mean? You're asking for it, and you got this message you want to put out there. Like, what happens then when the money starts to come in? Yeah. And what else can you talk about? You know, can you help me? And the neighbor says, oh, I got issues over here. And then the person across the street says, but I got these issues too. Can you help me talk about these issues? And you become overwhelmed, and you start to get what you ask for. You know, how do you handle it? Yeah. I find myself walking through a very similar path. That's why this character means so much to me.
Yeah, and it's the relatability for sure, because like, even like, you know, just like, and you know, most Black kids, like, you know, I had hip hop dreams, and you know, I put out you know, quite a bit successful albums, right? Oh, nice. But like beforehand, like I was just doing like general music, right? And then like I remember like there was a brother by the name of Jay Anderson in Milwaukee who police shot him, gunned him down in his car while he was sleeping, right? And this was, I mean, everything was going on, and I'm seeing it. But because it happened in Milwaukee, and I didn't even know the guy, it hit me in a way that I didn't expect. And then it changed the course of my music, where I was like, you know what? Everything I put out has to have a message. I don't want to do nothing that doesn't mean anything. I didn't want to just make the club record no more. I wanted to do something. And I started doing that. And then like, it bled over to this podcast, because I just wanted to talk geek shit with people, right? Yeah. And then I learned what a Blerd was. And then I started wanting to amplify other Blerds and celebrate and do it, you know, to the point where now we're crowdsourcing a documentary that we're trying to do called the Black Geek documentary, where we're just talking about it, right? But it was through these conversations like I'm having with you, where I realized like we all have those similar starts, where it was like, yeah, man, growing up, man, I used to love Power Rangers or Ninja Turtles or X-Men or whatever the case, but, you know, I didn't really talk about it that much, you know what I'm saying? But like, I love it now, you know, I want to continue to talk about it. But like, also talking about that journey. And so it's like, yeah, you started getting that. You started getting that, like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then as things started coming, it's like, whoa, okay, now how do I make sure that I'm using my voice in the right way or using my platform? And that's what drew me to the show, because I was like, yo, this is like exactly what it is, you know? And like, you know, I won't put a spoiler alert in it because I want to talk about some of the stuff because because the whole rent a black guy concept. Like, it was funny because I'm playing the game while I'm watching and listening and everything. And so just seeing how it went off the rails. Like it started off like kind of like a little similar, like a joke. And it was like, all right. And then it grew and grew and grew. And then how the narrative changed. Like you was like, okay, just rent me to come to your party. And people thought it was like, oh yeah, so you'll be able to get me employed. You're gonna be I was like, this is getting way too big.
Oh, like, 100%.
And I thought that was dope. Did you have any hands in like that writing of it? Because I know that once you get a character, you start embodying it.
Yeah, you have the writers did a good job of asking our opinions. You know what I mean? And we would get scripts sometimes, and we would sit down with them and make some changes and rewrite a little bit here and there. And you know, it's funny. I didn't realize it until afterwards. I had done a sketch in Second City. I'm talking 2003, 2002, maybe.
Okay,
maybe 2003. Called Rent a Black. And it was like, and it was, you know, and you know, and so the idea has been floating around, but this is the first time on like mainstream TV,
right?
That we had seen it, you know what I mean? And mine was like you know, the sketch that we had done was, I think that was a sketch that I wrote. Yeah, it was, you know, guy's getting beat up. This white kid's about to get beat up. He's got bullies. And so he gets on the phone. It's like, thanks for calling 1-800-RENT-A-BLACK. How may I help you? And it's like, there are two guys about to whoop my ass. Please help. And then just the black dude shows up. And they're like, yeah, he must have called Rent a Black. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it was something like that, something a long time ago we did. And I didn't put two and two together until after we had shot the show, that I was like, because I had felt that as soon as I read the script, I was like, man, I connected with it more than I thought I did. And then I was like, and then later on, I realized it was like, oh man, I wrote a sketch like this, that, you know, way back in the day. So
is it out in the world? Like, can people find it?
I don't know. I mean, Second City has some archives of stuff. It was definitely a recorded showcase. Okay. You know what I mean? So it's out there somewhere. But yeah, man, it was. You know, that's a testament also to the great writing staff that we have on the show. You know what I mean? We all walk very similar yet different paths, and so sometimes we think the same way. Some of these ideas they get spawned from different parts of our own journeys in our own lives, and a lot of the times they're very, very identical. And we, like I always said, me and Keith, you know, we're the same person essentially. We just have two different mediums of art. Mine is television and film, and his is pen and ink.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like everybody has the stereotypical on what a black geek is. Are you familiar with the term blerd?
Blerd, no.
Right.
Some people said it came off of Scrubs. Some people said it came off the internet. I don't honestly really know.
Don't you see the skin, the eyebrows, the hair?
Yo, my geeks still rock, you know what I'm saying, Dunks or Jordans or whatever.
Did I do that?
It's exciting. It's like, holy, oh, my dog is gonna start barking.
It's all right.
She's excited about it too.
And same as you said, like a barbershop talk, like we would go into really in-depth conversations about these theories and like, well, what if and how come?
It's not unusual to be
right? But we talk about anime, video games, comic books and stuff like that, but when you hear us talk about it, the passion sounds like we arguing Jordan and Bron.
What do you mean? What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
Like, it sounds like barbershop talk.
Because you don't know the history, don't mean it ain't happened,
You broke that down right there.
But when you see the black geek, you don't see that. You see the socially awkward glasses. Well, this is me. And that's not a lot of us. A lot of us do sound and talk like us. You know what I'm saying?
Because it becomes stereotypical, as if that's where our strength comes from.
I don't know the geek that you talked about before. I know the geek you're talking about right now, though.
It was sort of a call sign so we could find each other on message boards.
Anime gives you life lessons throughout that whole thing. Like, there's not one anime that I know of that doesn't teach you to never give up.
It's just like, I just love seeing us go into the world and go into these different spaces and create things that weren't there before.
And then it was like Miles Morales is like the normal, black person in the United States.
That was my first Blerd moment, was seeing, Storm on the X-Men cartoon series. And I was like, wow, that's a black woman and she's strong, she's powerful.
That's what I want for us. I want us to be that voice.
But that's dope, man, because like I said, it's always best when you can see, the actor and the writer and the character kind of merge. Because like I said, you truly start embodying it, and being that you add that, that other type of connection with it, like it brings that level of realism to it. And I think, like I said, like the character itself, just being able to see his plight, like his journey in general, like even just and like even those awkward moments, like when. When his girl at the time was wearing the shirt, and then he was like, "Hey, wait a minute, this is weird.
Hey, you gotta take that off.
You gotta take that off." But even in going and trying to talk to those investors, and then you're saying "Oh man, let me change this character real quick," but then she shows up and it's like, but then
exactly,
and then everybody has that one friend that is really on it, that hey, my brother, and so you happen to be a lady, and that she's calling you out on everything. It's like, I can't win for lose right now.
exactly, and that's the pressure. That's just the pressure of being human. Sometimes, you know what I mean. And a lot of times, what's the term that people say? Black is not a monolith.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not. And so a lot of times, if you break the mold, if you're slightly different, if you have different ideas, you get called to task to be like the group, to be like the rest of the group.
Yeah.
And I think that can be dangerous at times. You know what I mean. That can be dangerous when you genuinely don't feel the same way.
Yeah.
And you're trying things out, and you're trying to figure out who you are as a human being, as a person. You know what I mean? And so that character, Ayana on our show, played by Sashir Zameda, she crushes that character.
Right.
Yeah.
So into some geek stuff, man. Me and you, we got a shared love for Silver Surfer. That is one of my favorite characters, man. And so I wanted to kind of get I like to ask people their geek origin story. What got you into Silver Surfer, X-Men in general?
I want to say it was my cousins. My cousins, we used to go hang out and play at their house when we were kids all the time. And the things, and they had crazy comic book collection.
Yeah.
Comic books and the trading cards. So
people forget about the trading cards.
They forget the trading card. I paid more attention to the trading cards than I did the actual stories. You know what I mean? And Silver Surfer, Colossus. It was a lot of cats that Gambit, Silver Surfer, probably maybe they're my favorite too. But Silver Surfer was like that was the coolest to me.
Man,
he was the coolest to me. And so I've always said I wanted to play either Gambit or Silver Surfer in a Marvel movie. So Marvel, if you're listening, don't be an asshole. Put me in that shit.
Well, I mean, you could, because like I said, even with Silver Surfer, I mean, shout out to not Morgan Freeman, who voiced him in Fantastic Four. I can't think of his name right now. Morpheus.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne. He did the voice, right?
He did the voice.
Yeah, he did the voice in Fantastic Four, and we know. Yeah, I don't know, because I don't want to spoil anything, but we know Fantastic Four is coming in the MCU. And so you know what I'm saying, and Fantastic Four at some point, and we're already in space,
Yeah.
And we're dealing with a celestial. So we're gonna meet Silver Surfer at some point.
We have to, and I'm putting this out there too. I've been in the gym. Okay, guys, I've been in the gym. I got the Silver Surfer abs going. If I can't get quite, the Silver Surfer abs liposuction, I'll do whatever it takes to put my body in peak physical condition, even though I'm already there, and I know how to surf.
You know how to surf? Oh, okay. I was say, is that you went to like Six Flags? I mean, Noah's Ark and got on the little surf thing.
No, I can't. You know goddamn well.
I was trying to lean into it, man. We gotta sell it. I'm gonna use this clip as promo.
Yeah, but they ain't gonna know, man. Just whisper. They ain't gonna know, nigga. I cannot surf, nigga.
But yeah, man, like it's funny because like, man, X-Men. I think a lot of Black people got gravitated towards X-Men so much. That was such a cool collective, whether it's Wolverine, Gambit, like you said,
Cyclops.
Like it was so dope to see X-Men, and they had probably one of the most littest intros in cartoon animated history.
Oh yeah, dude. Let me tell you something, man. When X-Men came on, whenever I would see a new edition of a comic book at my cousin's house, it was weird. As a kid, you get excited about a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's hard to find that feeling as an adult, that giddiness that you had as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, whenever a Marvel trailer drops, whenever a DC whenever a comic book movie of any sort drops, you get that instant feeling that you did when you were a kid. And I think that's why those movies do so well, because it can transport you back to that time where it was complete innocence. You had no stress, no worries, and you could just watch something out of this world, literally out of this world.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there are very few things that give me that like instant excitement like that.
Yeah.
And when a trailer drops, I get excited immediately.
Right. So I know you're also a big Mortal Kombat fan. And so did you like the movie that came out last year?
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, man. They did it.
They did it. I thought it was better. I thought it was better than the first one.
And what's funny is we enjoyed the first one.
Yeah.
At the time when it came out. And so like this one took it beyond.
Oh my gosh. The guy who played Kano had me on the floor.
Yeah.
I forget his name. It was so funny in that movie. But that the storyline, everything about that movie, just super cool to me. And again, nostalgia. That takes you back to that feeling. You know what I mean? When you were a kid, you're like, oh my God. You're waiting for key lines. You're waiting for him to say, get over here.
Yeah, you're excited about that. So speaking of nostalgia, I got it right. Oh, yes, I do. If you're ever in Milwaukee, just stop by the studio, man. We can get it. Stop by the studio, bro.
Oh my God. You don't want that ABACABB code when I come in, bro.
I was just on the podcast the other day and I said, I don't know what it was, but back in the day, our memory skills was top notch because we can rattle off fatalities like nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But now I feel like you play the games now. It's like, wait a minute, what? Let me gotta look it up.
Yeah, hold on. You're going online. You're like, what's the code? What's the code?
Right. But like we used to know those codes left and right, man. And but like it. Full circle, you've also a big fan of NBA Jam, and then you end up in NBA 2K. What was that process like, bro?
Oh my gosh, I'm a huge fan of NBA Jam. I have the arcade in my living room. I got the matching stool to go with it. Huge fan. But when Live came out, when NBA 2K came out, there was Beer Combat Basketball. There was all these different like Magic versus Bird. There's all these different games that came out that I just became like, because I'm a huge more than anything, I'm a basketball fan.
Yeah.
And so when I got the call, so a director named Sheldon, he was directing the 2K series, the player mode and all that stuff, the story mode and all that. And he gave me a call and asked me to be in it. And that was one of I did a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows. That feeling was right up there with like booking a big Vin Diesel movie to me. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, I'm about to be in 2K. You know what I mean? They showed that my name was in the trailer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That right there, that was definitely a bucket list thing to say that I'm in a video game. And that's kind of how it happened. I just went over there and we did some motion capture stuff and I told some jokes and that was it, man.
It's dope because your character fits perfectly because like if you wasn't an actor, comedian, you definitely would be a top tier barber. Like I can see you being the barber, cracking the jokes, commenting on what's going on in the world.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like that.
I'd be the barber trying to fix my own hairline. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
But
again, you got to get ahead of it. You got to talk about it before they can talk about it.
But like I thought that was dope because also, you know, like they started putting way more emphasis on the storyline, right? And so knowing that like players gotta always go to the barbershop, like you are constantly seeing in that 2K20. And it's
although there's some players who just don't go. You know, it's so interesting. Like these are some of the greatest players that ever touch a basketball. Like sometimes I'd be like, yo, KD, you don't want to go to the barbershop? Like I'd be sometimes every once in a while, I'd just be like, hey man.
So how are you liking this playoffs? I know we beefing because you know what I'm saying, Bulls and Milwaukee.
Yeah, that one right there, that one threw me. That one threw me because my prediction in the beginning of the season was that the Bulls would get to the finals. But you know, injuries and such, you know. And there's something about Giannis, you just can't that's a different animal right there. That dude right there is a monster.
Yeah.
So, you know, I actually thought y'all got lucky in that last game because Celtics had it.
They did.
I was like, and then Drew Holiday happened. I said,
this is going to be when it's all said and done for this playoffs. This is the best series.
Oh yeah, this is the best series.
It's been ridiculous. It's like everything that you thought going into this series did not happen, and it's been such a defensive game. It's been amazing, man.
Absolutely, this has by far been the best series. You know what I mean? Phoenix and Dallas. Don't get me wrong. They're
slugging it out.
They're slugging it out, but they're taking it to Game 7. But man, you know what I mean? Like this one, because you got the world champs. You got the champs going up against a team that nobody thought in the beginning of the season was going to do a damn thing. Right. And out of nowhere, they became like favorites.
And they became this like defensive monster.
Yeah. You know, defensive player of the year on their team. But then, you know, like I said, Drew Holiday happened. Drew Holiday came down 2 crazy defensive stops at the end.
Yeah.
That, my goodness.
Yeah.
You know,
it was good. So I'm loving this, man. All right, so 2 segments before I get you out of here, man. Time flies super fast, but we do top 5s, right? And so I want to get
Dylan. Sorry.
With your love for comic books and everything, what is your top 5 comics? And it doesn't have to be in order. It doesn't have to be a specific run, but just in general. It can be just it can just be X-Men in general, Spider-Man, but like top 5.
Top 5, I would have to go. I think it was called The Legend of the Silver Surfer. I forget what it was called. I don't know the specific name of it. The Silver Surfer, Batman. Batman has got to be. Well, which comic was it when it was Batman versus Superman? There was something.
I think it was actually just called Batman versus Superman.
This Batman versus Superman. I put that up there because that was a crazy when 2 worlds collide kind of situation. Old school Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Like bad, like poorly drawn Spider-Man, I would say. I would say Bloodshot is in that. Shout out to Valiant Comics. Bloodshot, please, let's make it part 2.
Yeah.
And I would say do graphic novels count?
Yeah, they do.
Watchmen.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I want to say Watchmen.
They did their thing with that show, man. Ooh,
yeah, oh my goodness.
Gina King, man.
But you know, I'm also forgetting, you know, Wolverine is also one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
So anything just X-Men related, X-Men kind of dominated my youth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, but I can't. There's so many cats out there that you can't forget, like Superman, Batman, and all that stuff like that. But so I will definitely have to just honorable mention the X-Men series.
All right, cool. All right, another top 5 video games. Let's talk video games, man.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so there was a game called Thrill Kill back in the day. Thrill Kill. If anybody knows it, it was actually we had a bootleg version of it for PlayStation. Because I think it was like banned in certain places. It was like these people fighting in hell. Look up Thrill Kill.
Looking it up.
NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat, obviously, Tekken.
Oh, Tekken.
And Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh man.
Sonic was my man, you know. And I love Mario Brothers, but I was never truly that big of a Mario fan. It was always, for games like that, it was always Sonic to me. There was a game called Alex Kidd in Miracle World. that I loved back in the day. I think that was just for like the OG Sega. I think.
I was saying, you sound more Sega than Nintendo.
Yeah, definitely Sega more than Nintendo. But you know, like I said, Bill Lambier Combat Basketball. I think that was Nintendo. I think that was Super Nintendo. That one right there was one of my favorites. It was like all overhead.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
You know, it was all overhead. Shoot the ball would just go straight.
Right.
So I'm forgetting about NBA 2K. Damn, that's hard. I'm gonna get rid of Alex Kidd and put in 2K.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So last segment is just recommendation. It could be something that you're watching, you're reading, you're listening to, but something that you think our viewers and listeners should check out.
Man, our viewers and listeners, if you're listening to this episode in particular, I want to say you got to check out, Welcome to Our Show. It's our New Girl podcast. You got to check that out. You know what I mean? If you're a New Girl fan, you'll love the show. We just kind of recap episodes, interview folks who had either written, produced, directed, or starred in episodes of the show. And then we're about to open it up to interviewing fans of the show, like those diehard fans. And we're going to have them on. And it's just a cool. It's almost like a throwback to some of those favorite episodes that cats really, really enjoyed. And we just talk about our own personal lives, and we kind of just shoot the shit a little bit too. So I would say definitely check that out. Shows that I'm watching. Oh man. I just finished Ozark.
Oh man.
That
Ozark
show right there. Ozark.
I was okay with that finale. There was one part of the finale that I was like,
yeah.
I think you know which one I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But other than that, it was phenomenal.
Same reaction. I probably had the same reaction you did. But Grand Crew. If you haven't seen Grand Crew, I think that's NBC, Peacock. I think Grand Crew. That cast right there, man. Yeah. That cast, those writers, the directors, that show right there. That is definitely probably my favorite show that's out right now.
Dope. Yeah, man. Dang it! I know we got time because I did want to talk to you about the LaMorning pill after, because I knew nothing about that until I started researching it. And what happened was, what was the podcast? What's the guy that you went on the podcast and then you just kept on rapping? He kept on dropping.
Oh, Rick Glassman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take
your shoes off.
I never knew about his podcast either, and I said, "This is one of my favorite podcasts ever now."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Wait a minute!" I was like, he is rapping way too good for this just to be a parody. And so I'm like, let me just look up Lamorne Morris music. And I said, he has a whole album. And then I watched the video. I was like, this is amazing.
Man. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Yeah. That started with my boy Jukebox. My boy Jukebox is a music producer. And he, I would just mess around in the studio with him a little bit. And he would, on his off time, we would always just be making up dumb stuff. And he's one of the funniest people on the planet. And but he's not in the comedy business. He's in the music business. And so we'd sit in the studio and he'd always be helping me, like just punchlines and writing stuff. And he'd be like, "Oh, you should say this, you should say that." And this is during the time when I was just fucking around, literally just fucking around in the booth. And then he started mixing stuff together, putting stuff together. I was like, I sound like I'm a real rapper sometimes.
Man,
I was like,
it sounded good, bro.
Yeah, and I ended up getting Common on the album, a bunch of other cats, and so that was definitely fun for me. That was something that I think I might be doing again. I might do an R&B album.
What made it dope, and what I always respect when comedians or comedic actors do it, is that when it sounds serious, right? And then they actually put actual bars in it, because some of those funny bars, it's still bars. It's like, if you said that at URL, you'll get a Don DeMarco, like you will go crazy. And I thought that was pretty dope. So I'm gonna put the link down below so that when people check it out, because it's a dope project. But man, that was a side of you that I did not know you had in your repertoire.
Yeah, man. I really talk about it just because it's just like a little funny. I put that out during the pandemic. I was like, I don't know, how do you put an album out? I just had these songs, and I just started Googling, like talking to my boy who's a producer, and he was kind of guiding me a little bit, like, hey, check this link out, check that website out. You get now, because you got real artists in it, you gotta deal with lawyers now. I was like, what? So I'm sitting there reading contracts, and I thought, I got the free time because we just sitting in the house. So why not? Let's put an album out.
Dope. All right, man. Where can my people find you at, man?
Oh man, you can hit me on Instagram at LaMorne, LaMorne. That's it. Or you can go to Twitter, Lamorne Morris at Twitter. And then just at my house, man. My address is call my cell phone 310.
Dope, man. Well, I am been your boy Deuces. This has been the amazing, some call him the Jay-Z of commercials, Lamorne Morris, and we are out.
Flawless victory.